At Steelfang Tower, a place long regarded as the center of skilled sorcerers, an unprecedented horrific event is unfolding. Professor Simon and his outstanding student Azalie quietly conducting a secret experiment, but the result was beyond control. When a mysterious force acted upon Azalie, causing her body to transform into a grotesque creature, eerie sounds echoed everywhere, immediately caught the attention of the wizards in the area, just as they were about to use magic to destroy this bizarre creature. A young man with messy hair, Krillin quickly rushed out to stop him. Because of a close relationship with Azalie, we cannot let any AI hurt her. Hesitation and personal feelings caused Krillin to falter. The biggest mistake, taking advantage of the chaos, the creature escaped from the tower, disappeared into the night. 5 years had passed since that tragic event. Bracelet, no longer a disciple of the Steelfang Tower, I shed the old name, choosing to call myself an orphan as a way to bury the past. Now, the orphan wanders everywhere, practicing as a freelance sorcerer to make ends meet. However, his life was far from easy. One time, Mr. Cho lent money to 2 poor children, but no matter how many times I try to get it back, the money is still nowhere to be found. In a small eatery located on the outskirts, the orphan was enjoying a simple dinner as usual. After a long, hard day, while he sipped his wine, the young server unexpectedly spoke up, eyes sparkling with curiosity. "Were you once a member of the Steelfang Academy?" No, this question made Orphen pause briefly, though unwilling to admit it, but the small badge pinned on the old shirt. "Your outfit speaks volumes." During this period, any AI emerging step by step from the Steelfang Tower, all are respected by the world, because it is the only place that trains wizards, possess superior strength. The emblem of that academy is a symbol of power. Even the most reckless ones had to. Maybe the next day, when Orphen returned to the shabby house where he was staying, 2 children who had borrowed money from you suddenly appeared. The excitement was clearly visible on their faces, as if carrying momentous news. They are eloquent, a never-ending grand and promising plan, a deal with the potential to bring in a massive amount of money. If everything goes smoothly, the financial issue that the orphan is struggling with will be resolved immediately. The promises from 2 kids sound simple to a suspicious extent. Even so, the offenders still decided to try their luck, thinking that things might not be as worrisome as he feared. But the harsh reality is not at all like what was depicted. BA people, they quickly fell into a flawed plan, joining a fraudulent multi-level marketing scheme to deceive a noble family. Prices in the city. From the very first steps, everything seems so blatant. The 2 children, endlessly rambling about bizarre products, try to persuade the customer with many words, exquisitely ornate but empty, enough to make any slightly perceptive. I recognize the deception. The noble family was not easily deceived. Early suspicion of the Ministry of BA's suspicious actions. They quietly reported it to the security forces. Planned to capture the entire group once things go beyond the limit. As tensions rose, Cleo, the youngest daughter of the family, accidentally discovered an unexpected truth. When her gaze lingered on the old, worn-out orphan badge, always by your side, memories from years ago suddenly come rushing back. That year, a powerful mage once appeared at their house to leave behind a cursed sword with a plea for help. Keep the secret. The tales from Cleo, along with the scattered details observed by Orphen, gradually pieced together into a clear picture. You don't need to think too long. To uncover the identity of the person who once sought help, the noble family kept the cursed sword. No other AI. That is Teacher Carmen. One of the wizards has the greatest influence on his life. This couldn't help but weigh on Orphen's mind, because it seems everything revolves around the past, what I wanted to bury. When the atmosphere is filled with tension, suddenly a loud explosion rang out from the neighboring house. The ear-piercing sound shook the entire neighborhood, causing everyone present to be horrified. An instinctive spark awakens in the orphan. Disregarding the danger, Lao turned toward the origin of the explosion. In my heart, I'm offended. The overwhelming urge to protect everyone overcome the fear of an unclear threat. The large door of the house was blown off by the explosion. Explosion destroys. He opened it, revealing a sight that left everyone speechless. Amid the ruins, a giant creature appeared. With a massive body and tattered wings, it exudes a terrifying pressure. A single glance was all the orphan boy needed. Realized it wasn't just an ordinary dragon, but rather Azalie. The orphan stood before the giant creature, a resolute gaze that couldn't conceal the pain within. He raised his voice, using all of the most sincere words to call back the remaining humanity left inside Azalie. However, all efforts were in vain. The monster shows no sign of listening. Its cold eyes, only filled with madness and instinct, destruction in the blink of an eye. A burst of flames erupted from the monster's mouth, racing straight toward Orphen. He quickly stepped back, trying to avoid, but the intense heat and swirling dust and smoke, everything became hazy in that moment of chaos. Azalie swiftly lunged forward in his monstrous form. With a powerful bite, it clenched the cursed sword tightly, the treasure that the noble family has been safeguarding all this time, and then fled deep into the forest. Outside, the elite team of mages had been lying in ambush all along, prepare everything thoroughly before taking action. They are the ones who were sent, come to ensure the creature Kia cannot continue to cause more harm. When the monster just stepped out of the building, magic attacks, strength is immediately deployed. The dazzling light of magic illuminated the entire night. However, just as the blows were about to hit their target, the Orphen suddenly rushed into the midst of the battlefield, exert full force to dispel all magic. Everything is stopped in the astonishment of the onlookers. His bold action not only escaped from the brink of death, but also paved the way for her to vanish into the darkness. Escape the encirclement of the wizard team. Memories about 5 years ago still lingers in the Orphen's mind, like a wound that will not heal. That day my teacher gave me a gift. Is the leader of a group of promising young trainees. Everyone carries within themselves a hidden strength. Astonishing. Among them, the most prominent figure is none other than Azalie, a girl with outstanding talent, and was dubbed the Wizard. Chaotic, due to their extraordinary power. Every time Azalie participates in sparring sessions with his teacher, the echoes from their clashes did more than just reverberate. The room shook, and sometimes even causing slight tremors throughout the tower. The group of male teacher students, I am not only strong in ability, but also share an incredibly close bond. They were all children with no one to rely on, but that doesn't make them feel deprived. On the contrary, the days and months spent living together in the tower, the Steel Hour, is a time of happiness. Rarely do they see each other as family. Share the joy together, and always willing to stand up to protect one another in the face of any danger. Though life is not easy, they still rely on each other to overcome all challenges. However, that fleeting happiness did not last forever. A terrible disaster had struck, destroy everything they once cherished. When Azalie turned into a monster and fled from the Iron Fang Tower, the council of the academy quickly made a calculated decision. To protect their reputation and authority, they declared to the outside world that Azalie passed away in an accident. Animal testing. This announcement is nothing but a lie, but also a complete denial of responsibility. With one of their most outstanding students, Steel Fang Tower, a place always proud of its noble ideals and integrity. Now they're using another layer of a fake mask, created to conceal a horrifying truth. Someone who once saw Azalie as more than just a sister, but also the one he trusts the most. I cannot accept this deceit. You keep asking the lecturers, high-level mages and wizards at the academy, organize a search, hoping to bring Azalie back. Your desperate pleas, no matter how sincere you are, it all gets ignored. They come up with every excuse to justify their indifference, assuming that the most important thing is to maintain the academy's image, but not to rescue a trainee who has lost control. After being rejected many times, the Orphen felt a surge of loyalty toward the tower. The Steel Fangs have been exhausted. I no longer recognize the place that used to be my second home, a place that once brought hope and meaning in his life. Determined to give up not only the academy, even the name Krylancelo, a name tied to a sorrowful past. Returned to reality, the Orphen couldn't help but be surprised when receiving a direct offer from the guy the first like. The revered mage, a person who was once a symbol of strength and wisdom. The Fangs of the Steel Tower had requested an Orphen embarks on an extremely important mission. Destroy the monster, but both the academy and the magical community all consider it a major threat. Teacher Tremon, with his keen insight and vast experience, guessed that Azalie's goal is, when seizing the cursed sword, is to restore the human body. However, he also expressed skepticism about the possibility of that happening by the evil power hidden within the sword, not so easily subdued. However, the Orphen listened silently to every word from his former teacher. Your heart seems torn apart, Steel Fang Tower. Despite acknowledging Azalie's overwhelming strength when I was still human, now they only see her as a threat it is necessary to eliminate. For them, killing the monster was the goal, not just an act of protecting the surrounding residents, but also a way to uphold the Academy's reputation, protect the sacred land from threats. But when Timon didn't hide his opinion, he emphasized that Azalie's sacrifice was, no matter how painful it is also necessary in exchange for peace for all. Chamon through calculation and magical prowess, the master quietly took the exam, developing a positioning method, the Cursed Sword. This magic is not only intricate, but also profound, but also extremely accurate. Allowing the group of wizards, the current location of Azalie can be easily identified. This is a crucial move in their plan, a move to end this heartbreaking story. Trimon believes that with the support of positioning magic, facing and eliminating the threat from Azalie will become more feasible than ever before. In front of the teacher, the Orphen nodded in agreement, as if you fully agreed to take part in the mission, hunting down the monster. Your gaze appeared serious, but deep down, the mind suddenly came up with a completely opposite plan. Orphen, I had no intention of following the Academy's orders. Instead, you decide to take advantage of the information from the locator spell to lead the group of wizards. The Orphen's goal is one clear step forward, warning Azalie of the imminent danger. Just before the day of departure, Cleo unexpectedly visited Orphen with a special gift. In the palm of her hand lay a gleaming silver ring, carved with mysterious ancient characters. Cleo said that this gift is a heartfelt thank you from the family repays the labor of the Orphen in protecting them and remedying the situation. 7 injuries from the monster's attack. She didn't talk much about the origin of the ring. It only emphasizes that it carries a special power and can save its owner from the most dangerous situations. However, Orphen had just received the ring. Your gaze instantly froze. A strangely familiar feeling took over my mind, as if you've seen this item somewhere before. Just a fleeting thought. Orphen has uncovered an astonishing truth. This ring once belonged to Azalie. Ancient inscriptions carved on the surface, not just an identifying mark, but also a clear testimony regarding her initial ownership rights. Although Azalie rarely mentions the ring, but the Orphen remembers clearly. Once you mentioned that this is not merely a decorative item, but also a powerful talisman. It contains protective magic, capable save the owner's life in the most critical situation. However, that power can only be activated once. Quietly slipping the ring onto the finger, the Orphen felt an indescribable mix of emotions between sorrow and gratitude. For you, this gift is not merely a repayment from Cleo, but also a thread that connects to the past, with many memories of Azalie before everything became chaotic. You don't need to say a lengthy thank you, just nodded slightly at Cleo, but deep down inside, you promised yourself that you would use this power, wear this ring with the honor it deserves, as a way to protect what remains. The remnants of the bond between you and your sister was once everything to you. When Orphen and the talented wizard group, BA, was assigned an important mission, many wizards, the advantage, you have been summoned to join the journey. Coming soon to prevent the dark art of necromancy, they even sent a high-ranking white mage to ensure a tighter seal. Meanwhile, the Orphen unexpectedly decided to go in a different direction, alone searching for Azalie with the hope of bringing her back from her monstrous form. The intense affection of Orphen for Azalie, instead of being welcomed, once again met with her furious backlash. Azalie in dragon form, launching fierce attacks, and a strong blow from her breath pushed it away, submerged the entire forest. Through the sea of flames, the scene turned into a blazing battlefield. The light from the flames blazes, reflecting onto the sky, while Orphen putting in all efforts to prevent the devastation, breaking up with the one you've always loved. The battle raged fiercely. At the site where the battle took place, a group of wizards decided to collaborate in order to determine accurately Azalie's position in the form of a monster. A simultaneous attack plan was launched, with the goal to cause direct damage and weaken the monster. Amid the chaos, the senior white mage performed the sealing ritual to restrain the power of darkness. Anger is surging through Azalie's body. However, their efforts seemed insufficient to overwhelm her. The monster's strength exceeded initial expectations. Meanwhile, the Orphen faced a perilous situation. Contemplating a bold plan, you decided to snatch the magic sword. I hope I can lure Azalie to follow me, pull her away from the mages, to have a safer opportunity to approach her. However, this reckless idea is easily dismissed as naive. When the power of Azalie far surpasses all expectations, offend can be controlled. The situation became complicated when Team 5 of the mages arrived, scattered into two. The Hatia group, the loyal friend of the Orphen, take on the mission to chase after you, to retrieve the crucial sword before it falls into the enemy's hands. Meanwhile, the remaining wizards must stay behind to continue the battle with the dragon. Do not let it wreak any more havoc. When Orphen and Hatia returned to the battlefield, the scene unfolding before my eyes, leaving both utterly stunned. The talented mages who once fought side by side, nearly all have fallen. Only traces of devastation and 7 defeats remain. Amid the blood-soaked scene, only Simon remained standing, resisting the terrifying power of Azalie in the shape of a dragon. The brutality and madness of the monster turning the entire combat zone into a storm-ravaged landscape, the unceasing fire. Orphen had no time to think further about the next plan. Then suddenly, a sharp pain pierced through his body. Eyes filled with astonishment when seeing Simon's sword piercing deep into my body. You try to move your body, but it suddenly becomes stiff, no longer able to resist or move. The cold words of Tremon rang out like a decisive command. He will heal this wound for the Orphen, but only after this battle ends. Now your task is to stay quiet. Do not cause any additional trouble until everything is over. Right after Orphen was disabled by Simon, the battle became easier, far superior for the mage, strong, no longer hindered or threatened by orphans. Simon quickly focused all their strength into one decisive blow. In an instant, the dragon was repelled with terrifying force. The attack not only knocked the monster's body away, but also causes it to dissolve in a surge of power. Giant. The dragon was completely blown away, restoring peace and quiet. But that was only the beginning of greater pain waiting for the Orphen. An expression of profound sorrow appeared on his face, eyes full of pain, when I saw my sister lying motionless on the ground, without a trace of vitality. Memories of Azalie, the person you tried to save, over the past period of time, now it seems to have been consumed by rage, completely destroyed. Amid the tranquil space, Orphen suddenly heard a faint sound, emitted from the dragon's corpse. Those were Azalie's final words. Like a fragile ray of hope in this moment of utter despair. Is there something? Something in her words made Orphen feel uneasy. You realize that everything, it seems it's not really over yet. The next day, the Orphen went to Trevor's place, with a heart full of contradictions. Last words. At last, you heard from the dragon's corpse. The other day, it was hinted. Reveal an earth-shattering secret. Hidden soul. Hidden inside that monster is something entirely not its own. Instead, Azalie is indeed still alive. But in a situation that no one could have anticipated, she swapped souls with Simon and now resides in the body of his teacher. This soul-swapping incident is not just complicated, but also conceals many dark schemes. The Orphen recalls the events from a few days prior, when AI fails to recognize the difference. Azalie. In Simon's figure, the rounded shoulders were skillfully portrayed, maintain a stern and authoritative appearance like a seasoned sorcerer. While Simon was trapped in her body, every plan seemed to have been arranged by Azalie in advance. Just keep playing the role of the perfect teacher. You can survive and let Simon live, to bear the death in my stead. But Orphen understands better than anyone the dangers of AI. This situation, you know that Azalie has gone too far, and the crimes she committed must be punished. See you today. Not as a desperate younger brother, there was a young mage searching for answers, but with the determination to put an end to it all. Orphen's gaze was full of intensity. You're no longer the child who only knows how to hope and wait, but a wizard, prepared to face many terrifying consequences that Azalie created it. Azalie's sword, with the firm intention of rushing to the orphanage, but could not touch him. Instead of feeling the pain from the blows, my sister's attack, the Orphen still stands calmly and steadily. This is thanks to the ring engraved with ancient characters that you had swallowed earlier. The power of the ancient ring create an invisible protective layer, help you avoid the fatal blow, and right after that, the Orphen swiftly counterattack. A powerful counterattack from Lao straight at Azalie. In that very moment, the Orphen realized that winning or losing didn't matter. In this battle, it's not really important. Your mind isn't haunted by the thought of destroying Azalie, but out of a desperate desire to save her. Want to help my sister come back. Orphen doesn't want to push Azalie away into a path with no way out. Your goal isn't to kill her, but liberation. Rescue the sister you once loved from the darkness. Madness and delirium had taken hold of her mind, and Orphen stopped to gaze deeply into Azalie's eyes. You spoke in a calm, but weighty tone. Tremon never intended to kill the dragon. Their master, though a powerful and revered mage, still choosing to step onto the battlefield not to destroy, but to find a way to save Azalie, help her return to being human. What Ramen wants is to bring about a peaceful outcome, a place where no one has to die. But instead of being grateful, Azalie once again chose to repay kindness with resentment. Not only to seize the bodies of teachers, it was his own hand that ended his life. As a firm affirmation of the path to ruin, the ring you chose. And suddenly I recall the days gone by, when both you and Azalie were still studying at the Magic Academy. Although Azalie, always known as one of the greatest wizards, best, superior in strength and skill, but the one chosen to inherit the razor, a symbol of supreme power, is none other than Orphen. Razor is not just a common symbol, but also carries a significant influence of Lao within the underworld. The special mage at the Steel Fang Training Academy, the holder of inheritance rights, this plan will have significant influence and a powerful voice, is the one who will guide the future generation of young mages. This creates an invisible distance between the two sisters. When Azalie felt left behind in the race, fame and power, in the memory of an orphan, there is a special day when both decided to return to the orphanage where they grew up together. This orphanage holds countless memories from my early childhood. It is where their feelings for each other began to form, not only because of the closeness, but also because both had no one else to rely on. Without love from parents, many children in the camp, everyone must seek comfort from one another. It was this very thing that bound Orphen and Azalie together. Stronger than ever in those moments, they are no longer two mages fighting for power, but two brothers returning to the memories of a peaceful past before getting caught in the whirlpool of complexity, the chaos of the magical world. But orphans always feel that the memories of the orphanage are what never fades in your mind. Those are the rare moments when you and Azalie, free from the pressures of fame and responsibility, weigh heavily on one's shoulders. There, only a few simple and pure moments remain, a place where both can be themselves, without constraints, bound by the expectations of any AI. The orphan knew that. It is these memories. This memory has stayed with you, a part of the affection for Azalie. Despite all the crimes she later committed, you can never forget. On the way back to the Magic Academy, after visiting the orphanage, Azalie noticed something unusual, suddenly vanished without a trace. Worry crept into his heart, and the orphan immediately began the journey of searching. Hope to see you again soon, sis. However, despite having traveled many roads and inquired everywhere, the sky quickly turned dark, but still there wasn't any. What are the signs of Azalie's presence? Darkness gradually envelops every nook and cranny, adding more tension for you, and often continue searching in a nearby abandoned house. Where you think you might find a clue, the interior of the house was dim, damp, and eerily quiet, terrifyingly silent. When you're trying to check around, suddenly, a shadow emerged from a hidden corner, turning on the music, and headed straight into the open. The attack was too swift for you to react in time. Although already in a defensive stance, the blows, invisible attacks from the enemy are not only hard to grasp, but also makes Orphen feeling helpless when unable to perceive things accurately. The origin of them, the land's relentless wave of attacks pushed him into a perilous situation. Orphen, despite being a skilled mage, still unable to resist facing the bizarre attack of this ghost. When pushed into a corner, Orphen knew he had to resort to another method. In an instant, you decided to activate an ancient spell. In the past, it bore the name Closed Mind, one of the rare magics, but you only use in certain situations. Most critical, the moment the magic was activated, Orphen, feeling one's mind detach from reality, and immediately the faint enemy there begins to fade away, as if it had never existed. Actually, the faint shadow just now was the magic cast by Azalie. Create an appearance. She smiled and said she just wanted to tease her younger brother. But deep down in my heart, her purpose was not at all that simple. Azalie wants to test her limits, want to know which of the two AIs is truly stronger. That curiosity doesn't just stem from the instincts of a mage. Talent is also a hidden desire, want to assert their position in Orphen's eyes. Even so, you can't deny that your little brother has grown up, and, growing stronger every day, can stand shoulder to shoulder with you in battles. That was something that left her both satisfied and a little uneasy. After that sudden attack, reality gradually returned to both orphans. After realizing that Azalie had no intention of causing harm, I'm really feeling confused. While Azalie, then, it seems he had realized something deeper. Orphen's words about Teacher Tremon woke her from her daze. The chaos of power and hatred. She suddenly realized that every action I take goes against my wishes. Teacher's wish. Teacher Tremon never intended to kill her. I have never seen you as an enemy. On the contrary, the teacher was ready to sacrifice. Not just to save her, but also to bring her back to the right path. This truth struck Azalie's soul with great force, making her feel remorseful and regretful. The sins Azalie has committed cannot be erased, even if it costs my very life. She couldn't change it either. Heartbreaking incidents have occurred. The only thing she could do at this moment, it means living with everything the teacher has. Timon once had hopes, no longer haunted by hatred or desire. The power of Azalie, determined to become the person my teacher always hoped for. She will become. Azalie took one last look at the orphan. Determination shone clearly in her eyes. From now on, I will live up to what you expect. That is the only way to atone for all mistakes. On the orphan's adventurous journey, not only are there lurking challenges and dangers, but also accompanied by two rather special companions, Magic and Cleo. Magic is a young teenage boy, full of passion, with the dream of becoming a great mage. Decided to stick with Orphen to learn and practice magical skills. However, your enthusiasm, sometimes it causes quite a bit of trouble for the offender, because Magic is still young, still struggling to control his strength. And Cleo, the young girl, there is yet another completely different reason to follow in the footsteps of Orphen. Not out of a thirst to learn magic or to seek knowledge, but simply because of the monotony of life. Everyday urges have ceased. She went out to seek thrilling adventures. The mischievous and lively personality of Cleo often leads to many awkward and comical situations. The orphan clearly understands that, even if they try to drive them away, both will not easily give up. So instead of continuing to argue, you reluctantly agreed to let them accompany you, at least for the next few days, despite a bit of discomfort. But Orphen, it is also understood that they have become an indispensable part on my journey. The next destination for the group is the land of Teframe, a place shrouded in mystery and antiquity. This place is not only famous for its beautiful scenery, wild, yet also the location of the Steelfang Academy, a place that once trained the most powerful sorcerers, including both Orphen and Azalie. The frame does not only evoke in Orpheus memories of the past, but also a place that unveils many mysteries, and new challenges are waiting ahead. A group of 3 people walks down the path leading to the frame. Each person carries a different mood. Magic is eager, looking forward to the new knowledge you can learn. Cleo happily enjoys her carefree adventure. A lonely soul with distant eyes, knowing that the upcoming journey will not be merely simple. It's a journey through a new land, but perhaps it will be where you face many dark secrets, the night of the past, and the unavoidable truths. To avoid drawing attention, the orphan decided to take the detour, away from the observation stations scattered along the area. You understand that the stations, this scene is very likely to report on the presence of the wizard in the forest, with Kimlac Church, an organization with a deep-seated hatred for mages. The Church of Kim sways with its power and influence. Always consider magic as a threat to their faith. That is precisely why the orphan cautiously avoids all unnecessary conflicts. Because of the conflict with Kimlac, it brings nothing but trouble. The troubles that come with the fall of night. Orphan's group faced a new problem. Food supplies were exhausted. Stored food sources, not enough to feed 3 people. While Orphen and Cleo sat side by side, the bonfire is slowly dying out. Magic, in the role of a student, assigned the task of searching for food. You have to trek into the dark forest to hunt. Find something edible for the whole group, even if you're a wizard's apprentice. But Magic couldn't help feeling like an unwanted guest. Must work hard to serve both the master and Cleo. While wandering, in the middle of the month, deep in the dense forest searching for food, Magic unexpectedly encounters a strange girl named Fiona. She appeared unexpectedly, and appeared very worried when warning about Magic. You should leave this area immediately, to avoid danger, although the incident happened too quickly. And Magic still didn't have time to ask. Clearly, Fiona is an AI. And what was the reason that made you issue the warning so urgently? Then the situation became even more complicated. The moment Magic was still bewildered, a large crowd of people suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Quickly surround both of these crowds, carrying crude weapons and eyes filled with hatred. Magic tries to use basic spells that you just learned, but faced with the overwhelming number of enemies, many simple tricks like that are nothing to write home about. In a panic, you were scolded by the village chief. A tall and fierce man shoot an arrow into the shoulder. The wound is causing you pain and could no longer continue the defense. There's no other way. Magic was tightly bound and dragged away like a prisoner. They took him back to the village, where you were held captive like a hostage. Somewhere else in the forest, Orphen and Cleo realized magic had been missing for too long. After tracking the trail, they realized the situation was critical. With the usual decisiveness, the Orphen immediately made a plan to rescue his student. Cleo, with her usual combative demeanor, eagerly joined in. It doesn't take too much time. Both of them went to the village where magic was being held captive. The tense rescue mission began when Orphen and Cleo, secretly entering the village. Orphen had just set foot in the village. You were instantly captivated by the fluttering flag atop the wooden pillar, a drawing of a majestic ancient creature. The suspicion is clearly visible against the old painted fabric. A fleeting sense of amazement passed through Orphen's heart when realizing this is the symbol of ancient creatures, the eternal enemies of the wizardry world. It's not unusual for the villagers here to act like that. So they were dragon worshippers after all. A virtue, the custom has been deeply ingrained in the local culture for centuries before today. Often reflecting on what I've learned, these 6 regions were originally divided into 2 opposing factions. On one side is the Golden Bell Church, representing many devotees of the goddess. They view magic as a threat that must be eliminated. The other side is the belief in dragons, a worshipper of the power of mythical creatures. And perhaps this village lies on the backside, a community living under the protective shadow of the dragon. The creatures that once ruled, treated and revered as a deity, often, the more one thinks, the deeper the root cause becomes apparent. The villagers' attack on magic was far-fetched, not simply because of your presence or Cleo's, but rather because of their wizardly nature is a threat to those who believe in dragons. To protect their beliefs and safety, the villagers quickly took action, not leaving any room for many outsiders like Orphen. There's magic in the thoughts of an Orphen. Take you back to ancient history. The time when these 6 regions were home to 6 ancient species, extremely intelligent, bestowed with magical powers by the gods. Those creatures, despite having an outward appearance similar to many animal species, like wolves, bears, or horses, possesses terrifying power, considered the embodiment of a dragon. Each species carries, within me, a distinct form of divine power, and even after centuries have passed, reverence for all living beings. This legend still exists in many places. Among the 6 ancient species, there is a special species known for its intelligence. Extraordinary beings are called angels by the world. Unlike other species, their only weakness, it is the inability to sustain itself. This ancestry compels them to integrate into society, humanity, to become a part of humanity long ago. It is this very bond that has given rise to a new species, carrying the mixed blood of angels and humans, human mages with magical power inherited from the angels. Originally, living together with humans does not create any major conflict. However, over time, a change in mindset has occurred. The angels, with pride in their strength and wisdom, start to believe that humans have stolen their magic. This skepticism gradually turned into an ingrained belief that magic, the betrayal of mankind, is the result of treachery. From then on, the angel has lost faith in the person they once regarded as the rift in the alliance. This crack quickly spreads widely among the community of dragon worshippers, because the followers of the dragon always revere and fear it. The ancient power of the angels. They consider whether humans are permitted to use magic as an act, insulting sacred beings. From then on, the mages, humanity has always lived in a state of being hunted by those who worship dragons. The story becomes tense when the group's conversation, rescue operation cut off, startled by the loud noise. The villagers discovered. They quickly surrounded them with weapons in hand, and there's no way to escape without running into trouble. This time, many of the guns that people are holding are not permitted. Often, he has time to prepare magic for a counterattack. You had to use all your strength, escape the encirclement, find a hiding place, before thinking about the next step. However, even escaping is not easy. The enemy is tightening the encirclement day by day. An Orphen and many companions were forced into a tight corner. Not stopping there, a giant creature, known by the name Deep Dragon, suddenly appearing and standing right next to the Orphen, The colossal dragon does not resort to direct force, but instead, attacking your mind, images of chaos and a sense of pain. The extreme struck like a storm. The feeling of losing control spread throughout the body. To perform any magic becomes meaningless. All the villagers were craftsmen who served Cho, Deep Dragon, adhering to many strict directives from ancient creatures. Among them, Fiona has always played an important role. Not just a member of the village, but also a nun, the only one capable of direct communication. The messages of the dragon come to everyone. Your mission is not just limited obeying the commands of the dragon, but also maintains the harmony among living beings, mythology, and worshippers. However, the special thing about Fiona is, do not harbor hatred toward mages. Like other believers, though living in a community, always despise mages and are ready to hunt them down. She still maintains her composure and compassion. The clearest evidence of this is that she had previously warned about it, about the impending danger. Throughout the time Magic was detained and imprisoned in the village, Fiona showed no sign of cruelty or hatred toward you. But on the contrary, she treated Magic extremely kindly. Just like a friend, she not only provided you with food and shelter for now, but I also want to share with you many of my perspectives on the mission she is undertaking. Yet in Magic's heart, you can't help but worry about Fiona. You're afraid of the nun. This honest and kind-hearted man could be the village elder, a person of great influence and full of calculation, exploiting for dark purposes. Magic tried to persuade Vienna, leaving the village with you. You think that if both of us escape together, they will have the chance to escape the schemes, worshippers of the Deep Dragon, especially from the hands of the old village chief, the person who seems to be controlling everything in the darkness. Magic felt that this girl shouldn't stay in a place where her life could be in danger, threatened at any moment, because many people, like the village chief, will not hesitate to sacrifice that AI for personal gain. However, contrary to the urgency of Magic, Vienna maintains a calm and resolute attitude. She smiled sadly, shaking head to refuse Magic's advice. Vienna explained that her responsibilities could not be neglected. That as a nun, she was entrusted with a noble mission by the dragon race, a sacred mission she could not escape. She felt that she had an obligation, must fulfill the duty entrusted by the dragons. Magic still firmly believes in the Master Orphen, will soon come to the rescue, save me from this difficult situation. He is very confident in his teacher's abilities, but little did I know that at this very moment, the orphan is also suffering imprisonment in the dungeon. The knight of the village makes this Magic, completely unaware of the situation. How serious is it? Meanwhile, the orphan felt fortunate to receive Fiona's help. His mind was not severely wounded after the attack by Deep Dragon. She has healed you. Help him recover enough strength to face the dangers ahead. However, just when the situation seemed to have temporarily calmed down, the orphan sensed something unsettling was about to happen. Right now, Salua, one of the many suspicious figures in the village, appeared. He rushed down to the prison cell, with a look on his face, as if he was preparing to investigate something. Realizing there was no other choice, the orphan was forced to fight fiercely to protect my comrades. Not only Magic, but also Cleo and Fiona, many people you swore to protect. In this tense situation, Hello suddenly drew out a shimmering glass sword. The reflection of light from the torch in the prison cell. This darkness is no ordinary weapon, but a symbol of the Kimlak Church. Prove that Salua, not an ordinary villager. Turns out Salua was a spy, blessed by the Kim Church. He entered the village to carry out a secret mission, assassinate the village chief, the leader of the dragon-worshipping cult, and is also one of the figures has great power in this region. The end of the war, unfolding in a way no one could have predicted. While Salua was engrossed in battle with Orphen, seized the opportunity. Unexpectedly, Cleo quietly approached from behind. A precise strike, with a wooden staff in hand, the blow knocked the spy unconscious on the spot. His body collapsed to the ground without a chance to react. This unexpected intervention ended the war, suddenly leave everyone present in awe. After the situation stabilized somewhat, Fiona, she began recounting the dark history she knew of this village. She mentioned that there was once a man named McDougal, have arrived village and to carry with many novel war tools. He persuaded and motivated the local people here, produce more types of these weapons for the reason that defending against threats from outside the forest. Initially, the villagers only acted in self-defense, but when McDougal, gaining more and more power in their hands, his ambition continued to grow without cease. On the other hand, McDougal not only stopping at protecting the village from enemies, but also wants to extend their influence across the entire region. They even intended to take over the neighboring villages. The power of guns and the fear he sowed helped McDougal gradually becoming an undeniable force in the region. Madugo is plotting, carry out a dangerous plan to aim at seize the divine power of the sacred forest. According to various information shared by Vienna, his goal is the heart of the land, this sacred one, a place believed to harbor mysterious power, the dragons and ancient creatures that have protected since time immemorial. McDougal's greed and thirst for power, not stopping at just control the village, but also aspire to control the forces far beyond human understanding. A calculated move that will not only affect the villagers, but also plunges the entire region into disaster if Macduff could touch the heart of the forest. What is certain to happen is Deep Dragon, the sacred dragon deity who protects this land, will fly into a rage. The consequences will be horrifying. When the dragon's rage comes, can destroy everything. The entire village no longer had any doubts, will be consumed by the fiery wrath of the Deep Dragon, and none among the worshippers of AI Feng could escape punishment. This brutality, therefore Fiona advised Orphen, Magic and Clio, you should leave this dangerous area quickly. She realized that time was running out, and they had to leave before everything collapsed. Deep Dragon will not forgive any remaining AI. Even so, Fiona had no intention of running away. Despite knowing the danger ahead, she was determined to stay and soothe his rage. Of Deep Dragon, she is a nun, the only one capable of communicating with this deity. She believes that only I can do something to prevent the disaster about to strike. She took responsibility as part of her mission, the responsibility entrusted to me from birth, and no I can replace her position. No more hesitation. The orphan hurried towards the village chief's room. McDougal is determined to find the answer to the chain of events. A tragedy just occurred. The heavy door creaked open, revealing a gloomy space where the village elder was sitting in the dim light, sharp, offensive gaze, like a knife, facing that old, decrepit man. "Oh, one, greetings. You immediately inquired about the reason the old man sought to steal the heart of the forest, leading to an unnecessary tragedy." Madugo showed no fear or remorse, even when facing the consequences, but the old man's actions, instead, it caused. The old man calmly explained that the intention to seize power from the forest originates from the desire to protect the villagers from oppression, the pressure of the Golden Shake Church, a notorious force across 6 regions. Even so, many of the old man's words failed to soothe the anger and instead caused offense. For you, sacrificing the lives of innocent people to achieve the goal, no matter how noble the title may be, are all unacceptable. Bloody though aware that death is approaching, still holding firm to one's stance. Before taking their last breath, the old man left behind a grim warning. Then all 6 of these lands will sink into oblivion. Those words echoed like a curse, making the air in the room unbearably stifling. Madugo once asserted, "I have personally witnessed the destructive power firsthand. The secret weapon belongs to the Golden Shake Church." According to the old man, if no preventative measures are taken from now on, all life on 6 continents, including many villages that worship the Deep Dragon, you will never find peace. Even though those words were filled with pessimistic undertones, they still sow deep fear in the minds of the villagers. After Macbeth draws his last breath, the flame of his will, it seems to have been passed down to the villagers. Instead of being discouraged, they were more determined than ever to fulfill the goal he left behind, the belief that possessing the heart of the forest will help them protect themselves against the threat of hostile forces. The Kimlac Church has become the guiding compass pointing the way. The villagers all turn toward the nun. They believe that person will lead them to the sacred land of dragons. The atmosphere in the village became more bustling than ever. The sound of discussions echoed everywhere. Many eyes filled with hope, mixed with tension. Even nuns, trying to warn them about the danger of deprivation. To seize that sacred power, her words were just like a passing breeze to my ears. For them, this is the only path left. To protect a peaceful life is currently under threat. A giant pillar of light suddenly appeared. The path leads straight down to the center of the village. Create a terrible explosion, sweeping away everything in a vast area. The already tense atmosphere, now only a pile of rubble remains, groaning in cries of pain. The strange light not only destroys matter, but it seems to also strangle hope, the last fragile thread of the villagers' existence. Everyone was stunned. realized the fury of the deep dragon. The sun was truly setting because of the many mistakes they made. From above loomed the colossal silhouette of the deep dragon, appearing with a majestic aura unmistakable. The pair of eyes, blazing with a fiery red glow, stared straight down. The remaining residents chose not to flee. They knelt down on the ground in despair. In their thoughts, this punishment is inevitable, and every act of resistance, it's nothing but nonsense in the face of the divine creature's power. Amidst the ruins, the orphan appeared with a resilient demeanor, completely opposite amid the panic of everyone around. You quickly use magic to attack, prevent the deep dragon from harming more villagers. The sharp eyes of the orphan, a flash of determination surged as he summoned his resolve. Once a small, yet mighty creature, the child of deep dragon, Owen believes in the existence of this creature. It could be the key to negotiation, or at least stop the spreading rage. You raised the little dragon high in its presence, the overwhelming dominance of the sky's ruler, as if wanting to convey a message of reconciliation. However, all you got in return was a cold, indifferent glance. The deep dragon showed no sign of being shaken, without a trace of fear toward what the orphan might bring, trying to carry out. For that ancient creature, what is happening is inevitable, the necessary purge to restore order. Nature has already been ravaged by mankind. The majestic voice of dragons, roaring like thunder in a clear sky, making the entire space seem to sway, the words of life, an ancient artifact filled with despair and wrath. The dragon accused the villagers of, though always protected by the blessings of the forest and the compassion of the deities, how audacious to scheme and seize the heart of this place, an act not only ungrateful, but also filled with ambition. The divine creature emphasized that such sins were far beyond what can be forgiven. It confirms that if there is no severe punishment right now, future generations are bound to repeat the same grave mistakes. Harmful to the dragon, selflessness, the former divinity was misunderstood as weakness. This leads to the growing greed of humanity. The villagers, with the intent to seize the sacred source of power, has broken the balance that had been maintained since the dawn of time, a gaze as sharp as a dragon's blade, scanning through each person in the crowd, making all bow their heads in fear and shame. Oh, one AI dares to speak up in defense of its actions, because that accusation is irrefutable. The crowd trembled, realizing that nothing could persuade that mighty creature. Give up the intention to punish. But the orphan couldn't stay still, watching innocent people endure suffering, the harsh judgment from this mighty creature. Magic, with his keen alertness and sharp intellect, immediately used magic to create a virtual space layer, covering the entire area. From beside, the orphan pulled out a gun that had been prepared in advance. With a decisive move, you throw this weapon straight at the giant dragon. At that exact moment, you cast a spell, creating a blazing flame envelope, take the entire area surrounding the ancient creature. The flames of fury erupt. Its light was so dazzling it seemed as if it could tear through the darkness, soaked the entire sky, dark shadow. The violent explosion occurred immediately afterward, like an earthquake shaking the entire forest. The roaring roar of the deep dragon, resonating with pain and fury. Before that sound was drowned out completely by the explosion and the fierce roar of the flames, the colossal form of the ancient creature slowly dissolved, plunged into the raging crimson storm. Its fragments were swept away like dust in the storm. The terrifyingly powerful storm once wreaked havoc, terror across the sacred land. Now only ruins and silence remain. The next day, the group continued their journey, with new challenges waiting ahead. What makes Orphen the most distressing thing right now is having to worry at a meal for one more person, a task that is by no means easy when their financial resources were already limited. You can't stop thinking how to manage things in this situation, especially when Cleo, always appearing innocent and carefree, without the slightest worry about the many difficulties ahead. The next goal for the whole team is to aim for the Nang Tower, a place filled with memories and also the root of countless troubles in life. However, before arriving there, the orphan, they had to make a stop in our city. This is not just a transit point, but also where magic will be attending school, begin the journey of serious learning to become a true mage. At this moment, the situation at the Steelfang Academy becoming more unstable than ever before. In recent days, a series of assassinations targeting elders has occurred consecutively, making the air here stifling and full of tension. Over 10 high-ranking officials in the academy have been demoted, killed in a mysterious manner, causing both the wizards and the common folk to panic. The rumors surrounding this incident spread everywhere, and most of them were skeptical that there is an underground force quietly carrying out the plan to overthrow the academy. According to many investigative reports, the elders at the academy, the Steel Claw has uncovered a detail, making them even more suspicious. The appearance of the assassin bears many similarities to... This inadvertently turned the Orphen into a target, tracking the fierce pursuit of the mages hunting down the culprit. The air is becoming increasingly stifling, and even Orphen himself couldn't turn a deaf ear to it. Malicious rumors are gradually spreading wide. On the way to our frame, Orphen's group was forced to stop, stopping to rest at a small inn on the outskirts. When night falls, an unexpected incident suddenly occurred. They were attacked by a mysterious assailant. The opponent strikes with incredible agility, catching everyone off guard. Orphen and Cleo hurried to protect magic, but no matter how hard I tried, the whole group, still unable to clearly see the face of the attacker. Even so, after causing a commotion for a while, the stranger vanished as if they never existed. Leave a strange piece of paper on the table. Pick up the piece of paper. The Orphen recognized the content inside, written in mysterious characters, a blend of ancient languages and magical symbols. After spending time decoding, you discover that the message carried a sinister meaning. The true successor is AI. This question not only confused the entire group, but also evokes a profound sense of anxiety in the audience. Clearly, the assassinations at the academy and the recent incident has some connection. Someone out there isn't just chasing you, but also wants to sow seeds of discord, doubt, and chaos among the ranks of the mages. Just a few hours later, many doubts in my mind, the Orphen quickly found the answer. When darkness began to envelop the road, quiet at the group's temporary shelter, the one who ambushed them last time has appeared again, this time with a clearer purpose. The opponent is no longer as sneaky as before, then confidently stepped out to face it. Cold, sharp gaze, the menacing presence made the atmosphere feel suffocating. The confrontation quickly erupted into a fierce battle. The stranger was not only skilled in magic, but also possesses formidable close combat abilities. An astonishing battle. Every move of his was meticulously calculated, forcing Orphens to struggle to cope. Even though I've given it my all, you still clearly feel the disadvantage in every one of his strikes. Cleo and Magic could only watch from a distance. I dare not intervene for fear of becoming a burden. As the battle reached its climax, unexpectedly, another character appeared, turned the tide completely. A deep and calm yet commanding voice rang out, interrupting the battle. Though utterly exhausted, the oven, but still couldn't take my eyes off the one who had just delivered. Fight me right when the light from the nearby torch shines. Shine more clearly on the other person's face. My heart feels like it's being squeezed. The person who just attacked, not only possessing superior combat skills, but also bore an identical face, the Orphen from 5 years ago. This sight left Orphan standing in silence, speechless. Although the unexpected battle had ended with the retreat of the mysterious attacker, the tense atmosphere still hung over the entire group. Even though there are still many doubts, decided to set aside questions about the perpetrator. The killer wears a face identical to mine. You turn toward Cleo and Magic and notice the confusion in their eyes. Take a deep breath. The Orphen began introducing the person who had intervened. Invite and help them escape from dangerous situations. Standing before the curious gazes of the two companions, the Orphen looked toward the woman who had just appeared. She has long black hair with a violet sheen, tied neatly at the back, but still let a few locks of hair flow naturally. A sharp face and eyes brimming with composure. The outfit she was wearing, Steel Fang Academy style, exuding the aura of a talented mage. Owen lowered his voice and spoke slowly. This is Tiz. My sister was once one of the top students, elite of the academy for ironclad men. This was once an important part of life. Orphen and Azalie, all three have lived together for a long time before the incident occurred, as the eldest sister Tiz, not only taking care of the two younger siblings, but also a guide and an inspiration to others. Orphen, on the first day he set foot on the path of magic. However, after achieving many significant accomplishments, she was entrusted with an important position at the academy. Steel Fangs, at the current position Tiz, was granted a spacious and beautiful house of their own in the inner city area for convenience in both work and daily life. Currently, amidst the chaos engulfing the academy and the dangers of Charm's Tiz, the decision to bring Orphen's group in, go home to have a place to rest and stabilize the mind. Her house is located in a quiet neighborhood, surrounded by dense, ancient trees, provides a sense of safety and separated from the outside world. This will be the place where the whole group stays temporarily, waiting for the latest updates on the assassin. The killer is causing chaos. This Cleo showed delight upon entering the living space. The interior of the house is exquisitely decorated with 7 inner rooms. Embodying the classic style of the Steel Fang Academy, exudes a cozy warmth. On the wall are ancient magical paintings. Tiss's work desk, filled with thick books exploring various fields of mysticism. Meanwhile, Magic couldn't hide his admiration for the massive collection of books. You were instantly captivated because of a book on magical tactics, classic, placed on the shelf. Yes, the oven is completely opposite to its 2 companions, not showing any surprise. For you, this is not the first time I've set foot in this place. Yet, a fleeting glimpse of emotion flashed through your eyes. The pensive look, while gazing at the decorative items, carried the familiar breath, reminding of the past period, the happiness of having all 3 sisters still living together. As usual, maintaining a calm demeanor, she prepared a simple meal, then sat down at the table with everyone, start sharing what she knows about the current situation. According to her, the killer didn't just target the elders, but also seeks to sow chaos, shaking the students' trust in the academy. The most concerning issue is the distortion of the face. Orphans are being exploited to divert everyone's attention, making you a potential suspect. In the silent air, everyone could sense the severity of the issue. Cleo spoke up, breaking the heavy atmosphere, asking about the next plan. But Tiz, saying that right before the eyes, they need to be cautious and wait for more information from many investigators at the Tiz Academy, quickly returned to the academy, according to important news. Over the past few days, a series of elder killings at the academy, it has raised suspicions among many people. The offender is the culprit. However, after a thorough investigation, Tiz, evidence has been obtained to prove your innocence. According to her, the real mastermind behind the incidents was, this person has an identical face. Back when you were young, Orphen, a shocking detail that left everyone bewildered. The report from Tiz caused members of the academy think again about what happened. Surely, someone is silently plotting something, deliberately creating misunderstandings to blame the orphan. This imposter not only committed murder, but also made the situation more chaotic. Many people no longer trust the sorcerer. Young, the mysterious deaths have severely damaged the reputation of the orphan was severely shaken, and this is clearly not a coincidence. The situation has become more complicated than ever. When I can determine the true identity of the person behind the mask, forged Orphen. No matter what, this incident still holds many mysteries, should be temporary. A precise conclusion cannot be reached yet. That night, in a moment of silence, an orphan sat alone in the darkness, reflecting on everything that has happened. His mind is weighed down with sorrow, not just because of the threat from Deep Dragon and McDougal, but also because many distant memories still haunt him. Despite trying to let it go, the orphan cannot escape the ghosts of the past. Right at this moment, a mysterious figure suddenly appeared. Breaking the silence before him was a person, with an appearance and face identical to my own. The aura is completely different. The stranger spoke without a hint of hesitation. Let me introduce myself. I'm Krylancelo, the name that Orphen had left behind long ago. You are the person from 5 years ago. Krylancelo spoke in a deep, muffled tone filled with coldness, but mixed with arrogance. I am an orphan who was once longed for, will become the successor of the Razor's power. But the orphan was stunned by these words. The person standing before you claims to be your past self. Krylancelo, the name you once abandoned. When deciding to step off the path, the academy had already predetermined. When hearing about becoming the heir, Razor's power, Orphen, recalling the enormous expectations that everyone placed on me when he was a promising young mage. The power of Razor, it is the symbol of ultimate power among mages. And the chosen successor, it will become a formidable force, can change the whole world. In the past, Orphen was once considered the most promising candidate, but the subsequent events made him abandon everything, even leaving behind the name Krylancelo. Have you forgotten everything, imposter? Then carry on, a mocking smile. You were once a strong person, a person with the potential to become the greatest, but you chose to abandon everything, to live life as an unknown wanderer. Orphan life has turned in a direction completely different after the painful incident with Azalie. At that time, Orphen already had everything. Reputation, the potential to become the successor of the Razor power, a position that represents not only power, supreme among mages, but also the pinnacle of excellence that any mage would long for. However, achieved, instead of continuing down the path that fate had predetermined, the orphan chose to abandon everything, not just the right to inherit the power of Razor, and even relationships and reputation. You all left without a trace of regret. But when everything happened, an orphan cannot ignore the pain and loss from Azalie. The person you consider as your older sister, Azalie became a terrifying monster after striving to attain boundless power, make Orphen facing the biggest defeat of his life. That was the moment he decided to let go of everything to find a way to save Azalie, no matter the cost. But while the orphan walks their own path, then Krylancelo, the one who claims to be the previous version of Orphen, they continued to attack and kill relentlessly many leaders of the wizard community, the powerful elders. Originally, he was the one who could decide the future. Razor's power, successively assassinated in a brutal manner. Actions of Krylancelo, it's not without purpose. He believes that if he destroys, many people have power and potential, access to razor-sharp power, then he would be the only one who could hold that position. The next morning, Tis introduction to the two orphan students. His brother's name is Tiphys, and his sister is Pachika. Shortly after, Tis immediately announced that not long ago, two dwarves stopped by. It's said that they are acquainted with Orphen. Noticing something strange, the orphan walked into the room and immediately realized it was Vulcan and the doctor. No one else but those two troublesome dwarves. Unconsciously, he furrowed his brow. I guess this time, they're getting into trouble again. But at that moment, in a corner of the city, Vulcan and the doctor are on guard duty, with a smug expression on his face, as if they had just landed a major role, dazed with boredom. Both coincidentally saw Cleo appearing with Lucky, her cunning wolf. Because I'm hungry, Cleo couldn't resist the temptation, or the grilled chicken thigh on the Vulcan hand. All three quickly sat down in a corner to share a meal together. Amidst the atmosphere becoming joyful and peaceful, a group of people, cloaked in black from head to toe, he advanced silently, making everything instantly tense. The leader of this mysterious gang didn't hesitate to take action. He used a needle laced with anesthetic, stabbed straight into Lecky and Cleo, causing both to quickly collapse, unconscious on the ground. Vocal and the horrific doctor. I didn't have time to understand what just happened. They didn't have a chance to stop it, and Cleo was kidnapped by the strangers right before their eyes. Once the fear has passed, the two dwarves immediately fled at the fastest speed possible, hurrying back to deliver the news. With inherent decisiveness, you're getting ready to set off on a journey to search and save your companion. At the same time, one couldn't help but feel uneasy regarding the identity of the person behind this kidnapping. Deep down, an orphan, you're not just worried about Cleo's safety, but also feel that the appearance of Krylancelo, the past, and this kidnapping might be related to each other. Clearly, it couldn't have been a coincidence with Krylancelo. The version of you from 5 years ago has reappeared. At this moment, it seems there's someone behind the scenes pulling the strings. Control the appearance of that artificial figure, making everything messy. Throughout the journey to find Cleo, orphans not only have to face numerous dangers, lurking from enemies, lurking beneath, you still feel as if you're being caught up in a conspiracy much larger. Something is manipulating everything from behind the shadows, and the real enemy has yet to reveal themselves. The orphan could feel it. This is not just an ordinary kidnapping, but it could be part of a bigger plan to push you into a trap. With each step, the orphan couldn't stop thinking about his purpose, the true nature of the one who created Krylancelo, the past version of you. Could it be the mastermind? Wanting to recreate what Orphen left behind, a decision that once changed his fate, and many people you love dearly. And most importantly, the orphan is determined not to let this haunting past destroy him, your future, as well as the network. Cleo's life, a young student, warned magic. One must be very cautious when coming into contact with orphans. The rumors, his presence always swirls around like a gust of wind, filled with many stories, half real, half fake. The oral tales about orphans still remain, from as far back as 5 years ago until now. Back then, Orphen was the pride of the academy, when personally trained by Tremon himself, with expectations that you will reach the pinnacle of magic and may inherit the title of Razor, a noble title for the greatest wizards. However, not all AI perceives offense that way. The elders in the academy began to feel fearful. That strength, your hidden potential, will become a threat, threatening if it goes beyond their control. They don't want to see an extra person next to great power, which they cannot control. Therefore, they quietly dispatched a covert group of spies to continuously monitor, tracking every step of the Orphen. Every move you make is being closely monitored. The secrets surrounding the existence of the secret group, this secret is known only to a few people, and magic is among them, thanks to the information revealed by that student. The underlying cause remains unclear, but according to rumors, a mysterious detective was brutally attacked by an offender, causing severe injury to that person's body. They say that Offend doesn't care at all about the dying victim, but coldly left the scene as if nothing had happened. This story, although lacking concrete evidence so far, already spread everywhere and quickly blown out of proportion. The result is that many people began to believe he truly is a brutal monster. And the story became part of the baseless rumors based on the reputation surrounding you. This matter will be over soon. Has raised suspicions for many other students in Tremen's class. People whispered that the children were trained. All the trainees in that class were savages, only knowing how to obey orders from superiors, without any trace of compassion or morality. They are rumored to be many cold-blooded individuals, ready to destroy everything and any AI they deem to be in their way without hesitation. This story only adds to the tension of the situation. The students of Tremen did nothing wrong. Also caught in the whirlwind of doubt and fear, what about the people around you? Their image, in the eyes of outsiders, they gradually became cruel figures. Does not know right from wrong. That made many people start keeping their distance with the students of the academy, even considering them a threat. 4 battles between Orphen the Realist and Krylancelo, their own version. In the past, it was extremely brutal. Both have already mastered each other's fighting style all too well as each other's every move and intention, causing most attacks from both sides to they were all caught standing before being able to hit the target. Orphen realized that continuing to use old tactics, it will only prolong the battle needlessly. It does not yield any results. In the intense confrontation, Orphen, clearly aware that there was no chance of winning if face-to-face confrontation, with quick wit, you immediately collapse the floor, creating an unexpected advantage. Taking advantage of the chaos, you summoned the Sword of Light, a powerful move that leaves even the mysterious opponent in awe. Must be amazed. The opponent with a cold, piercing gaze. Hello there. The purpose of this battle is not merely to defeat, offending, but also related to Azalie. That woman needs to be part of a major plan. And for that reason, you've become the target that needs to be eliminated. The two sides plunged into a fierce battle. In a moment of peril, the opponent's cold, sharp sword pierced through the arm. Orphen makes blood pour out endlessly. Despite the pain, the Orphen never wavered in their determination. Nothing can shake. You counterattacked with a deadly blow, sever the opponent's arm, causing blood to gush out, signaling a loss that cannot be easily restored even if healing magic is used. Don't waste time. Offender, use magic knives and aim straight for the enemy's weak points. Then, Lao charged straight forward with a powerful move. Decisive. However, it's impossible to anticipate that the opponent is only pretending to be offended. Fading in the darkness. That person has secretly utilized hidden abilities. Create a massive explosion, plunging the entire area into blinding light and intense heat. Fierce pressing. The shockwave from the explosion left him disoriented, while Krylancelo stood at a distance with an arrogant smile. The one before me, you began to reveal a horrifying truth. The opponent that Orphen thought was a copy of himself. Actually, it's just a straw man. A cursed creature among the Green Lantern who is facing Orphen. It is not a complete entity, but rather a straw effigy created by the ancient magic of Kyungdo. Azalie has carved a sinister magical mark onto this effigy's body, and using a cursed sword to slash at it, that very slash transformed the effigy. Mindless and senseless, the youthful version of Orphen, with an appearance resembling yours down to the smallest detail. But it doesn't stop there. The dark magic slowly seeped into this effigy, the ability to think, turn it into a conscious entity, with the ambition to replace the oven itself. But over time, the effigy began to develop its own will. No longer just a tool of Azalie, it burned with the desire to seize the position of the Orphen, not just within the group, but also in the hearts of all those around you. When the Orphen faced the threat of annihilation, the mysterious effigy was actually a replica of him, begin to rise with a new identity. Based on ability, powerful magic, and personal goals, this effigy becomes a deeply contradictory character. It not only accompanies, but also Azalie in the mysterious journeys, but it is also gradually affirming its role in the story. However, despite possessing incredible power, the artificial nature of it, making it impossible to escape the truth that it's just a copy. Even though facing countless difficulties, still find the strong motivation to keep fighting, deep friendships, many precious memories, and an unshakable will. Change has become a source of strength. Encourage him to unleash his full potential. The confrontation between offender and effigy. It's not just a battle of magic, but also a battle of wills. Every spellcast embodies unwavering determination and burning desire to protect what is precious. When the effigy crumbles into tiny fragments, Azalie appears. She approached with calmness and eyes that shone brightly, determined to invite the Orphen to join their secret plan. When Cleo and Magic entered the room, the first sight they saw was an Orphen, lying slumped on the floor. The body is exhausted after an intense battle. Earlier, at a distant palace, a mysterious assassin has struck down countless people in an effort to track down clues related to an important map. The atmosphere there was filled with gloom. The text clearly reflects the severity of the threat, the danger of the one lurking behind this bloody scene. Just left the room, an Orphen suddenly faces a shadow lunging at him, carrying a terrifying, murderous aura. Didn't have time to think much. You immediately prepare to activate the magic to counterattack. However, before they could act, then Cleo and Magic suddenly appeared. It's precisely in the fleeting moment of distraction. That moment allowed the true enemy to escape. The next morning, the Orphen came to Tiz to report on the situation. In the tense conversation, Orphen, it is said that you have eliminated a dangerous entity, which you described as a wizard-destroying machine. However, when Tiz asked about the mastermind controlling that entity, the silent Orphen, his gaze lost in deep contemplation. You don't want to reveal the whole truth, partly because I didn't want to drag her into danger, partly because of himself. There are still many things to clarify. And then promptly presented the offender with a special document, a detailed report about the tasks you have been carrying it out for the past 5 years, outside the Magic Academy. Even so, an unexpected point in the content caught the offender off guard. Hold on, you haven't been expelled yet. What should have happened long ago? The correct title is the one who edited to add you in. However, Orphen and Tiz, accompanying Magic towards the fangs of the tower, a place considered the center of magical power. On the way, the atmosphere between them was relatively light and easy, but the Orphen still couldn't help feeling wary. While chatting, you asked Tiz if she ever had any conflicts with AI to leave serious consequences, or not. With the usual air of confidence, assert that she always receives respect from everyone. However, this answer was quickly refuted by reality. Right after the dialogue just ended, a sudden hailstorm came straight toward them. Large and small stones hurled forward with great force, enough to show that this was not an unintentional act. In a moment full of tension, Orphen's senses became sharper than ever before. You can feel every movement, the smallest of the silenced. The enemy is surrounding us. Without hesitation, the Orphen plunged into the battle. Facing the entire rival team alone, your attacks are incredibly powerful. A harmonious blend of magic and combat skills quickly overwhelm each enemy. O1 AI among the masked ones can hold out for a long time. The power of an Orphen. After defeating the entire offender group, approach one of them to ask for the reason. Why did they attack me? The opponent, with a gaze full of resentment, revealed that this attack was an act of retaliation for their teammates, those who were offended and punished in the past. There seems to be something familiar in those words. The Orphen pondered and quickly realized the connection. It's possible that these individuals are connected to the chief, the village you once encountered on a previous mission. A thought made Orphen even more wary. Due to overlapping relationships, this mistake could lead to much bigger trouble. When Orphen was considering the situation, a figure appeared in the distance. Newcomer, unlike the mediocre foes who were just defeated, sharp gaze, majestic demeanor, and his confident demeanor immediately made the Orphen realized this was an important figure. That is Hydra, a high mage from the Fang Tower. The man who called himself Hydrant, with a calm demeanor and a warm, deep voice, declared that their purpose is to come here to escort Orphen. However, you don't easily trust those words. As if to test, the Orphen unexpectedly threw a punch, swift and powerful attack, to test the opponent's capabilities. Haidon effortlessly dodges with his exceptional skills, making the Orphen even more wary. Both entered the Fang Tower. The tense atmosphere seemed to envelop every step. As soon as they arrived inside the tower area, the Foxter secretary appeared, polite but urgent. The offender is required to meet privately with this high-level mage. Step into the majestic room of Foxter. The offender couldn't help but wonder about the meeting. Surprising Foxtrot, with sharp eyes and a commanding voice, get straight to the point quickly. He revealed that it was a hydrant. The offender I just met was actually a spy. This information left Offense stunned for a moment, but Porter continue explaining before you can react. According to Porter, in the Quiet Pagoda Tower, there is only one class specializing in skills training: assassination, and that's the class UOA. The students in this class are not only trained to become a wizard, but also a ruthless killer. The vice president emphasized that the actions of the class UA has recently spiraled out of control, and to protect the balance of the Ivory Tower, they had no choice but to remove this layer before things get any worse. The story doesn't end there. The vice president placed a stack of documents in front of Orphen. Many sheets of paper contains detailed reports on the hydrant's operation and the relevant trainees. Today, the Orphen flipped through the stack of documents, and your gaze sharpened when reading about the massacre followers of the dragon religion, those trained from Class UA under the guidance of Hydrant. He had already taken action to kill all these people, leaving no clues behind except destruction. When leaving the Orphen Tower, he walked away in silence. The mind is overwhelmed by warnings from UA's teacher. "Don't let me become your enemy." Those words echoed hauntingly, as a reminder that confronting him is not merely, it's a challenge, which could lead to unpredictable consequences. Even if offended, they don't show it outwardly. Tension is creeping into my thoughts, making it hard for you to focus on anything else. Somewhere else, Cleo and her two friends have just returned from a stroll. The mood is still upbeat because of the many humorous stories just told. However, that joy was abruptly interrupted when they spotted a shadowy figure, standing tall with his face covered on the roof of a nearby house. Before I could react, that shadow disappeared, to leave behind a heavy atmosphere, as if foretelling something ominous. When the Orphen arrived at the place, image of Cleo, with blood on his head that left him astonished and furious. Listening to Cleo recount what had just happened, the Orphen quickly linked the incident to the culprit. The assassin you faced before? Determined not to let him escape, you immediately prepared to give chase. However, Tiz unexpectedly blocked the way, a stern yet caring gaze. She suggested that she handle this matter herself. While the Orphen should focus on taking care of Cleo, the person clearly needs help. Despite a bit of hesitation, Orphen understood that the top priority was to treat Cleo. Should reluctantly agree, while Orphen tended to Cleo's wound, quietly slipping away following the trail of assassins. As soon as I entered the city center area, she caught sight of one of them. That person deliberately exposed themselves, as if trying to lure Tiz into a trap. At home, after making sure Cleo's wound was properly cared for, it has been properly resolved. The Orphen decided they could no longer sit still. Regain determination, your heart quickly prepares and sets off. Enter the city. So Tit continued to closely follow the masked figure, following every small trace he left behind. Finally, she stopped in front of a dilapidated house, where darkness and silence prevail as if no I had been around for a long time. Oh, one bit of hesitation. Step in carefully, but no less decisively. When going upstairs, she immediately realized she had fallen into a trap. Two figures were already waiting there, a gaze brimming with killing intent and dangerous confidence. One of the two stepped forward, and he was stunned to realize that he had once been a student of Class UA. He made no secret of his intentions, searching for the world map, something that Tit knew nothing about. She pressed for more details to understand better, but the only response was sinister smiles. Full of mockery, the clash exploded right after that. Tiz, quickly activate your magic, delivering a series of powerful attacks to overwhelm the opponent. However, those two guys were no ordinary men either. They coordinate closely. The clear goal is to defeat Tiz. Losing the ability to use magic, recognizing her weakness, they concentrated their forces to attack. Sore throat interrupting Tiz's chanting process. When she gradually fell into a state of helplessness, they moved closer, ready to take her away. In a moment of peril, a familiar voice rang out. Sharp and commanding, Azalie appears. His cold, sharp eyes stared straight at the two enemies. With a decisive attitude, she declared that she would not allow any AI to touch this. The appearance of Azalie made the two assassins hesitate. Obviously, they weren't strong enough to confront a powerful mage like her. After a brief exchange of words, they quickly retreated, leaving Tiz in a dazed and weakened state. When the orphan arrives, his gaze immediately turned toward Tiz. The body still bears the scars of the fierce battle. Orphen, help her return home safely. Though I couldn't help but wonder in my heart about the unexpected appearance of Azalie. That night, while resting, Tiz reflected on everything. In a dazed state. Before that, she vaguely remembered the image of Orphen and mistakenly believed that he was the one who had saved her. An orphan with a pensive face, but unable to hide the determination. Use your abilities carefully. My therapy to heal. Healing the injured fingers despite the cold drizzle, the recovery process went smoothly. The outcome still did not meet expectations. The fingers were reattached. They seemed to have lost their inherent flexibility. Orphen sighed heavily, his heart weighed down by a sense of helplessness. Even so, you didn't show it outwardly. Just encourage them that it's not over yet. And there will be a way to fix it. When night falls, the orphan left home. Your footsteps lead you to a quiet corner. You sit there pondering the chain of complex events, getting caught up in a whirlwind of secrets and conspiracies. The surrounding space was quiet and still, only the sound of the wind blowing softly. Suddenly, a familiar voice shattered that peace. Azalie appeared, his majestic and powerful demeanor as usual. She moves closer, a sharp, piercing gaze, unable to hide the look of urgency. Azalie doesn't beat around the bush. Immediately share important information. She revealed that Class UA was involved in a series of shady actions, has entered the final phase of the plan. Their goal is to completely eliminate those people against myself and seize something extremely important at the same time. The world map is owned by the Browning family. For Azalie, this map is not merely an artifact that also carries within it a powerful force can change the order of the world. While Orphen was still listening, Azalie continued. Her voice grew lower, as if recounting a story from ancient times. She explained that a story of the map closely tied to the history of the gods. Over 1,000 years ago, during an era of chaos, one of the supreme gods, Swedenborg, had plotted overthrow and destroy the other gods to hold absolute power. Azalie continued the story. Her eyes reflected a deep pensiveness, as if memories from thousands of years ago is vividly coming to life. She explained that before disappearing from the world, Sweden has left behind a treasure known as national policy, also known as the world map. This is not just an ordinary map, but also embodies strength and knowledge capable of manipulating the currents of destiny. However, after many centuries of wandering, the traces of it are fading more and more. According to recent information obtained by Azalie, this map once fell into the hands of Tremon. He was once a distinguished mage and had a profound relationship with Owen. Azalie sternly warned that tonight, Class UA certainly won't miss the chance to attack. These individuals were ready to act in order to seize control. Map, and their goal is not limited to just taking down Orphen. Hey, Azalie. Even though I know that she and Orphen can protect themselves, but this is clearly a weakness. Given the current situation, it was inevitable for Tiz to become a target. Many enemies do not hesitate using any means to achieve one's goal. And Azalie, the concern is that this will put everyone in a difficult situation. Dangerous situation. Before leaving, Azalie looked deeply into the orphan's eyes, as if trying to convey an important message. She slowly pulled out an ancient object long ago from my own cloak. That is a legacy from the Swedish boxing era, a mysterious object that Azalie called the prayer wheel. Azalie explained that this object would allow the orphan travel between different dimensions, a rare ability that could help you dodge danger or even launch a surprise attack on the enemy. Orphen, after careful discussion with my two companions, led them to the UA class base, a secret area deep in the forest. Surrounded by dense rows of trees, the magical barriers are nearly impregnable. Before entering, you draw a magic circle. Activate it to form a protective shield for the entire group. Under the guidance of the light emanating from the circle, 3 people slowly flew through the boundary layer. Enter quietly without drawing any attention. Inside the space base, it was dark and suffocating. Dim light, just enough to see the surrounding objects. Orphen takes the lead, eyes ceaselessly observing every hidden corner. Beware of any lurking dangers. While scouting the area, a stranger suddenly appeared. That person is none other than Hydrant, a magic warrior known for its brutal strength and the ability to launch unexpected attacks. There was no time left to react. Hydro raises his hand and unleashes powerful attacks, causing the surrounding space to tremble. However, often cleverly used defensive magic, dodging a blow at the last second, and then created a small counterattack to block the opponent's advance. The confrontation lasted only a few seconds, but enough to offend, realizing that this enemy is no pushover. I don't want to waste any more time here. You quickly activated the magic circle. Once again, the group ventured deeper inside. The place believed to be the training area of Class UA, the atmosphere became more tense than ever before. The thick walls, the long-abandoned suits of armor, along with many traces of past battles, making this place look like a forgotten battlefield. When Orphen was leading the group, a deep voice echoed from the darkness. He drew closer, a half-smirk on his lips, exuding mockery. The light from the torch on the wall illuminated the man's face. Highlight a long scar running from the temples down to the chin. Seemingly intentional provocation, he asked Orphen in a mocking tone. Have you ever thought about this scar? 5 years before Orphen set foot in the royal capital, everything around you are brimming with strangeness and tension. Amid the flow of people coming and going on the bustling streets, a feeling of unease rose in his heart, as if there's an AI silently following every step. And then, as expected, Hidan emerged from the shadows of a deserted alley. The man's cold, sharp gaze made the Orphen freeze in place. The unease now turns into fear. Hydra with a provocative voice, walking slowly toward the orphanage, as if to ignite a confrontation. What do you think Steel Fangs trained you for? Not to kill Azalie. What else is the one they call the Chaos Witch? Those words are like a sharp blade, piercing straight into the Orphen's mind. It nearly made you dizzy. The thought that the ultimate goal of doing training is to destroy the person you always consider as family, making you unable to stay calm. In a panic, the Orphen unconsciously unleashes hidden potential. Inside me, a powerful swirling surge of air erupted around him. The light flashed across the hydrant's face, leave a large scar running from the forehead down to the chin, as a relic cannot be erased from this fateful encounter. But hydrogen is not easily subdued. The man thrashed about in the whirlwind, then exert all his strength to charge straight toward Orphen, as if wanting to finish you off in a single strike. Time seemed to slow down. Everything around me seemed to vanish. Only the silhouette of the enemy charging forward remains, and Orphen's determined gaze. In an instant, you activate the teleportation magic, disappear from the original position, causing Hydron to miss the attack, while Hydron was still before I could realize what had happened. The Orphen appeared right behind the man. With a powerful strike, he sent Hydron flying far away. In a foreign place, Cleo slowly opened her eyes. But very dark for you is the name of Forster's assistant nearby. Before Cleo could say anything, he suddenly lunged forward and tightly grasped her neck, each finger clenched tight as if to smother the breath. In the end, the attacker showed no trace of humanity, preparing to use magic to finish them off. But at that very moment, a sharp beam of light cut through the air, causing the man's hand to be severed, blood spattered everywhere, and the assistant screamed in agony. With her special magic powers, medicines managed to rescue her from the dangerous situation in time. Somewhere else, magic was also transported to an entirely unfamiliar location. The surrounding scenery carries a gloomy atmosphere. Amidst the crumbling architectural relics and the thick, stifling air, the smell of decay between you trying to stay calm. The isolation left his mind in disarray. As magic was about to search for a way out, a figure appeared in the distance. A precarious stance, yet brimming with danger. That is a member of UA class. The person also seemed to be caught up in the teleportation magic. Magic sensed the growing danger. When the opponent lunges at Lao with terrifying speed, no other choice. You quickly summoned a magic shield. The transparent protective layer emits a faint glow, just in time to block the direct attack. The collision of the VA created a resounding explosion, forcing both to take a few steps back. Although they escaped the initial attack, magic discovered the book. Precious map. The mango I carried with me has fallen into the opponent's hands. That person quickly stuffed the map into their coat, a sinister smile revealing clear intentions of provocation. Anger flared up inside, but more than anything, it was the anxiety that I would become a burden for the Orphen. No longer hesitant, you proactively charged forward to attack. Magic gathers energy. It emits a powerful beam of light, stabs straight into the opponent, but this blow didn't hurt him at all. In a moment of carelessness, the enemy counterattacked, causing magic to slip and fall. I thought you were completely defeated. The opponent couldn't hold back a victorious smile. But as soon as the magic from his strike faded away, the shadow of magic also vanished in reality. You used a space displacement spell to dodge the fatal blow. The tense confrontation network continues, and this time, the attacker is preparing to deliver a fatal blow. Before he could carry out his plan, a loud explosion rang out. A magic bullet shot out and struck the attacker, caused him to collapse on the spot. From a distance, Peter stepped out with a calm demeanor. Today, Orphen drives Hydron into the corner with a powerful kick. Make the opponent fall. He no longer had the strength to resist. Your gaze was cold, tinged with a hint of mockery. The words rang out, laced with provocation. If the scar on the right isn't enough yet, I will make your face more symmetrical. These words made Hydron clench his fists in death, but all resistance efforts were in vain when Orphen continues to dominate with overwhelming attacks. Just as the tension reached its peak, Cleo appeared thanks to Lucky's teleportation. Her face was dotted with sweat, but still shone with a determined resolve. She quickly recounted what had just happened. When Forster's assistant intended to attack Leaky, she seized the unexpected opportunity. Use all your strength to strike from behind, knocked him out on the spot. Freed from the dangerous situation, she quickly left that place with Lecky to search for Orphen. The whole group then headed straight to Classroom UA, the place where the teacher is in charge, standing and waiting with a book in hand. His face exuded self-satisfaction when declaring that the most important book had been stolen from his hands. Magic, however, Orphen's reaction, it's a guy who laughs without restraint. The whole room seemed to shake. Your mockery made Mr. UA lose his patience. He opened the book. The book was released with the hope of uncovering many secrets, precious rather than important content. The pages inside are filled with drawings. The crescent moon is nothing more than a child's plaything. While pregnant, the atmosphere in UA High School's classroom filled with tension. Boxster and Magic suddenly appeared. The fox terrier's gaze was stern. He declared resolutely that the illegal behaviors of Class UA at Enhan Thap Tower cannot be overlooked. His words made the gang leader, UA, burst into arrogant laughter. Show a disdainful attitude when thinking that only a few people, they couldn't do anything to him and his underlings. However, that confidence quickly faded when Azalie suddenly appeared. Her figure exudes an aura of authority, making the room freeze in an instant. Just spotted Azalie. The class president immediately lost control, as if in a frenzy. Screaming wildly, and Lau attacked her with all his hatred, but didn't have time to get close. The offender quickly blocked the path ahead. The West retaliated against the blow from the guy. Two Laotian men engaged in a fierce battle, but before long, the gang leader, UHA, collapsed, knocked out on the floor by the offender's overwhelming force. When Azalie stepped forward, his gaze carried a hint of pity. Without saying a word, she raised her hand, unleashing her chaotic power. A wave of magic surged forth, enveloping the entire UA class. In an instant, all their memories of her were erased. Leaving a strange void in their minds, she turned around and walked away. But before leaving, she turned back to look at the orphanage. The voice rang out, carrying a tone of defiance. If you want to resolve this matter, come to the Golden Shake Church to find me. Not waiting for an answer from Orphen, Azalie immediately used magic and vanished. A few days later, when Orphen has settled everything here, are you planning to go to Kimlac City alone? The stronghold of the Golden Shake Church, a renowned organization known for its compassion and dedication, intense hatred towards witches. This decision caused conflict among the offended and his companions. Miss Cleo is clearly very sad to face Orphen, accusing you of deception because I didn't tell them about my plan. She insisted that she would go with him, even though he didn't want any companions. Which one in this perilous journey? When Orphen explanation of the travel plan to Kim lack, Magic reminds him of the risks, especially the contempt of the church. Kim disapproves of magic. The church, described as a formidable and dangerous force, famous for the brutal suppression of witches. Even so, Orphen was determined to go there. A story that then shifts to a flashback scene 5 years ago when Azalie and Simon discovered Ford's Basilisk, an ancient fortress built by the Celestials, building to defeat the Basilisk beast. In mythology, this monstrous beast was sent by the gods to punish. The dragons stole the secret of their magic. The power of Basil. The cheese is so huge that just one glance is enough. May also destroy land and kill any AI in its path. This fortress holds great significance for Fan Tower, because it may contain artifacts or documents related to Nonya, the legendary magic of the gods. When the group explored the ruins,